What's that? The Merciless Ghosty back again. And you guys know what time it is. The day we've all been waiting for. It's time for Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends came out last night. It's supposed to come out today, but I saw it last night, and this is going to be my spoiler-free review for it. As you guys know, I try not to give too much away in the spoilers or in the spoiler-free review. I try to keep it to the bare minimum and just kind of give y'all a general consensus of where I stand in certain things in the movie. I'm going to do a spoiler one sometime over the weekend, maybe early next week, depending on how everything goes. We will see. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I fucking hated this movie. I absolutely hated this movie. To be fair, now that I've had like a few hours of sleep on it, I may have been a little harsh on it. I think there's some good things in it. I think there's a good story in there somewhere. But there's just certain things that they do regarding with certain characters that I just cannot overlook. And in certain points of the movie, the pacing is really off. It can't decide if it wants to be like a melodrama, a thriller, or a slasher, and it kind of bounces around all over the place in that sense. And the movie just never get like the first act, like the first, I want to say like 20 minutes to a half hour, were good. I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's see where it goes. As the movie progresses, the middle gets worse, and there's certain things done in regards to certain characters. I'm not going to give anything away specifically, so I'm just going to say certain characters. And it's why? Okay. So I'm just gonna, if your expectation is to go into this movie expecting to see your typical Halloween movie, you're not gonna get that. This is not your typical Halloween movie. It is very different, and I applaud the fact that they took a swing on it. But again, I'm trying not to say too much, but what they do in regards to one character specifically is just so baffled me while I was sitting there. There was a point where I went with a group of my friends, and me and my buddy were sitting in the lobby having a few drinks, laughing before the movie. Everybody's having a good time. That was the best part of the night for me. If I had went to see this movie by myself, which I would have done if nobody wanted to come out, there's one point in this movie where I probably would have got up and walked out if I was by myself, and I'm not trying to be funny or exaggerate. Like, I was actually fucking, like, upset while I was sitting there watching it. I was like, wow, this is reminiscent of certain other movies in this franchise where they completely make one of the characters gets punked out, to say the least. It's yeah, there's just so many things that didn't make sense. Stories and plot points that go absolutely nowhere, just absolutely nowhere. Abrupt ending in terms of certain stories. I was like, oh, I'm glad we watched this entire movie just for this character to do that. Well, what was the point of the previous hour and 10 minutes? I don't know, but I will say they definitely gave it a definitive ending. The ending felt like Jamie Lee Curtis had her fingerprints all over it, and I think she had her fingerprints all over this movie, which, okay, before I continue with that, let me get back. I'm kind of all over the place. I know I'm kind of ranting. I didn't write anything down. I went to the theater. Every time I go to one of these movies. When I go to the theater, I don't go into it looking to review it. I just go in for the experience, and then I watch the movie again and kind of watch it through a different lens and review it that way. But Jamie Lee Curtis was great in this movie. Up until the final act, like it was a different. She played a different take on the Laurie Strode character that we've never seen before, and it was cool. It was cool to see something different. Like, I had no problem with the acting in the movie. The acting was actually pretty solid overall. The story is a bit all over the place, and I'm kind of tiptoeing around, like naming one character specifically, but the two, well, really two. That's kind of like where the movie loses me whenever these two kind of interact with each other. But with that being said, I'm going to call it here. I did not like the movie because of certain things that they did were so egregious and offensive as a fan of the franchise that I can't overlook those things. I'm going to get much more in depth with my spoiler review, which will be out either over the weekend or sometime early next week, which will be followed by the rankings for the rest of the movies. I'm kind of doing it a bit backwards. I'm going to be reviewing them backwards. So I'm starting with ends, and now next will be kills, and then 18, and then go from there. That's how I'm going to do it. But with that being said, go out and see the movie so we can hopefully get better movies going forward. If the movie bombs financially and critically does good, then there's no chance of another one getting made anytime soon. So I recommend you all go see the movie anyway. It's going to be divisive. I think this movie is destined to have a cult following. I am just not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. I'm out of here.